First things first, thank you very much for setting some time apart amidst your busy schedule and joining us for Zoholics and being here for this session. Um, so, a quick introduction. First of all, thank you, Sangeeta, for the introduction. But let me actually explain what makes or what qualifies me to be here, or what I do here with Manage Engine is, I've been with Manage Engine for over 13 years now as a technology consultant. What that means is two. One is I take part in seminars and conferences and workshops, and I talk about technology, and I also talk about product. Predominantly, my focus is around the Microsoft ecosystem. So I talk about Active Directory, Entra ID, Azure, and the products related to it. And the second thing that I do is I do a bit of health check and risk assessments for enterprises, not large enterprises, small, medium, and large enterprises of all scales. So with that little bit of experience in hand, I thought I'll put together a deck that talks about one of the three aspects that Aparna discussed during her session, which is workforce. So we will be talking about securing workforce, and then we have another session for workplace and then workloads. Okay. For now, we'll stick to workforce, securing the workforce. So my core, or the session's core, is going to be around identity and access management. So where we will be discussing about identity, access, governance, and how do you bring all these three together at the end of the day to meet a common objective, which is securing identities. Okay. All right. What's the agenda? 7-pointer. I'll first start by defining what exactly I mean by a digital workforce and what are the key components. And then we'll slowly go to the strategies and technologies that we need to support the digital workforce. What are the things that we need to do? We'll also touch upon topics like the third point right there, building an identity foundation, what it means to build a proper identity foundation, and lifecycle governance. In simple terms, if you're talking about user onboarding, user offboarding, entry and exit, what are the things that you should have in place, or what are the possible integrations with the tools that you already have? I'm not saying that you should be using one of our Manage Engine tools to do all this. No, I know that you already have an IT service management tool in your office, a ticketing tool. You already have a log monitoring tool in your office. You already have a HRMS, probably Zoho People. Any of you use Zoho People here? Okay, some of you do. Good. So Zoho People is a HRMS offering for Manage Engine. So you could be using these tools, but one problem that I see is most of these tools operate in silos. So when you're talking about securing identities, there's no point in these tools operating in silos. All these tools or applications should be identity aware. That's my core idea. Okay. And I'm going to give you some action items which you can take away. As I mentioned earlier, you need not be using one of our applications. You could be using a tool from a different vendor. Perfectly fine. Please see whether the action items that I'm going to be sharing with you can be put to use in your infrastructure, in your own tools. Okay, that's the ask. All right. So what is a digital workplace? So what defines a digital workplace is, let's talk about things before COVID and after COVID. Okay. I know that's not a good thing to say, but let's say before and after COVID. So before COVID, when I talk about network was inside four walls. It was inside a building. Okay. You had your boxes, on-prem Windows boxes or Linux boxes, and then you had an IT team, and things were reachable, things were kind of in control. At least we got a feel. Okay, we exactly knew where the problem is, or at least we assumed, well, this could be the problem. So we had some control over things. But after COVID, things slowly changed, started changing. So identities moved everywhere. So location was a trust factor initially. For example, if you were to create a security policy, one parameter in that security policy would be something like, if location equals Houston, then, well, this identity could be trusted. And then you had IP-based trusting and all that. But after COVID, location is not a trust factor anymore, because people could work from anywhere, access your corporate information from any device, any network. So which means we are talking about an ever-expanding boundary. And the only thing that remains constant before and after is your identities, your users. Okay. And when you talk about digital identities, we are not just referring to your employee accounts. No, employee accounts are there, but we also have vendors. They access your network. Okay. We have third parties. They access your network. We have bots. in your network. Okay, we have service accounts in your network. So when you talk about securing identities, I'm talking about securing all these diverse identity types. Okay, now how do you secure them? Well, you'll have to give them right access. Okay, you'll have to strike the right balance between security and user experience. That's one core agenda. Okay, so what does IAM have to do here? What is the role of IAM? The role of identity and access management in securing identities is providing four things, or it's ensuring four things are in place. And those four things are: right people should get the right access at the right time and for the right reasons. Okay. So identity and access management takes care of all these four parameters: right people, right time, right access for the right reasons. And what is privileged access management? Privileged access management, or in short PAM, is a subset of the bigger variant called identity and access management, whereas privileged access management takes care of elevated access. Okay? Access management is for all your employee accounts, including yourself. But when you talk about PAM, it's for you. Okay. So who should get elevated access, and should they be holding on to that access forever, or should that be just in time? Or if I have a third party stepping into my office to patch my servers, should I be giving them access for the entire 3 weeks, or give them access at 9, revoke at 5? So I will be able to decide all such just in time policies, grant and revoke for your privileged accounts from right here. Okay. And then you have the last piece, which is the SIM piece. A quick disclaimer: we have tools for all of these. I'll give you a quick brief of what Manage Engine is all about, because I've had a few people walk by the booth and then say, hey, are you a vendor? Are you a partner? Is it acquired? Is it a merger? No, Manage Engine is the IT management division of Zoho Corporation. So ever since 2002, yes, that's when Manage Engine was founded. So we have close to 60 products, and all these 60 products are in two different flavors. Sorry. We have on-prem products. So we cater to all three verticals. If you are 100% on-prem for, let's say, whatever reasons, we have solutions for you. If you are 100% cloud, let's say complete Entra ID, we have solutions for you. If you operate hybrid, we have solutions for you as well. Now, when I say solutions for you, what do I mean by that? Is we can help you manage, audit, govern your users, your endpoints, and all that. Okay. So whether we like it or not, we are around the Microsoft ecosystem. So we can help you fill in the gaps. Okay. I know that you already have an admin portal for your Entra. You also have your Active Directory users and computers for your on-prem, but we can act as a bridge for your IAM needs, both for your on-prem as well as for your Azure. Okay, now going back, we have 60 products, and these 60 products can act as, let's say, solutions for your for your IT pain points. You can purchase this as one solution, similar to Zoho One. You can go with us as individual products, or if you feel like, well, it looks like Manage Engine can address more than one IT pain point, let's say for your IT service management requirements, for your, observability, or for your monitoring requirements, for your SIM needs, you can have us as a suite where we contextually integrate and help you achieve your IT goals. Okay. So we will be able to do all that. What we do is we are also catching up with the trend. It's not just like when something is there in the market, we go after that. No, we wait to see whether it fits our needs. Okay. From a contextual standpoint, I'm talking about AI. So we also bring in AI to all our products, but based on context. Okay. We believe in what do we call as right sizing the models. We don't believe in making everything a large language model problem, because that is resource intensive, that is GPU intensive. We don't want that to happen. So we bring in AI based on the context. If there is a requirement for AI in your IT service management application, we bring that. If there is a requirement for bringing in AI to your SIEM tools, we bring that in. Okay. So we ship point products, we ship as bundles, we also add AI layers wherever we see fit. All right. Now talking about the digital workforces, a quick reality check. We can talk about all the hi-fi cybersecurity stuffs, AI, agentic AI, and all that. But at the end of the day, we are dealing with humans, and humans It's a cliche, but humans are the weakest link. So any policy that you frame should fit the right context. That's the whole idea here. And even today, over the last 3 years, 80% of the data breaches involve some sort of compromised credentials. Okay, that's the start. So what we are trying to do here in this session is to focus on the basics, and I'll give you some tools. If you have an alternative, please see whether you can put these action items to use in those tools. What are we trying to fix? Very clear statement. I'm not trying to fix this. Okay, this is what I call as an uncontrollable variable. I'm prepared for this, but this is my problem number 2. Okay, so what's my top priority? My top priority is this. Since all of you are admins, I hope you can relate. Okay, so all it takes is one click on something that you shouldn't be clicking, or you download something that you shouldn't be downloading, and it opens up a nasty Pandora's box, and you don't want that. Okay, so even worse. Okay, remember when I asked you password at 123? So yes, opening up the wrong door, that's right there. So it is very important that we have all these in mind before we even talk about framing identity and access management policies, integrating your applications, and all that. So we design solutions based on some of these concepts in mind. You might not find our offerings advanced, but I'm 100% sure that they are in context. Okay. How do you fix this? Well, user education is good. User education does have its impact, but the problem is the impact is very limited. Okay, as administrators, you know very well, you might have designed a user education program for your for your organization. You might have it once in every 3 months or once in a year, depending on the need. So the problem that I see with some of the user education programs that I have been a part of is they lack context. Okay, they are there just for the sake of it. Why? Because security is always seen as an IT problem and not as a user problem or a business problem. Okay, so if you ask your end users, are you really concerned about password hygiene? Are you really concerned about, general cybersecurity hygiene? The answer would most probably be no. That's not my thing. Okay, it's the IT's problem. Okay, so that's when user education alone cannot fix certain basic things that we have when it comes to securing identities. For example, if you take a look at the picture here, you have my manager appreciating me for not opening the phishing email that he sent to my inbox. Okay, I, on the other hand, have close to 740 emails that are completely unread, let alone the phishing email. I have not opened work emails yet. Okay, so this is lacking context. So what do we do? Okay, how do we ensure that we begin the process? How do we ensure that we secure our identities, our users' accounts, our third-party accounts, our vendor accounts, our bots? Okay, because anything or anyone who can access your data in your digital network is part of your identity fabric. Yes or no? Am I making sense? A quick nod will do. Okay, good. So where do we begin the whole process? Again, right access. You'll have to strike the right balance between security and user convenience. You know why? Because if you go too hard on security, well, you are hindering user experience. Or if you're all game for user experience, you're being too lenient with your security policies. So it's always the right balance that we are trying to strike here. Third point, use essential tools. I'm not just talking about single sign-on or MFA. If you take a closer look, I'm talking about contextual MFA. The MFA procedure that your tools use have to be aware of the context. Now, what are those contexts? It has to take into consideration not just the IP, geo, and all that. It also has to understand user behavior. Okay, so that's the point that I'm trying to drive here. And the fourth point, which is very important, security is a shared ownership. It is not just the administrator's task, and we have to drive the message out, and we have to do it time and again so that it reaches at least few years. Now, I use this metaphor. Okay, let's assume, or let's think of your enterprise being a digital city, and roads being networks, and vehicles being applications that have data. Okay, and the identity and access management piece acting as the traffic system. Okay, so with roads and vehicles on them, If you do not have traffic signals, now what do I mean by traffic signals is proper identity and access management controls in place, then we are talking about a digital gridlock here or even collisions. Okay. So this is why IAM has to be in place when you are even thinking of bringing all your identities under one roof and governing them using various contextual policies. This is typically going to be your digital backbone. You have some sort of identity repository here. Some of you have AD, Entra ID, some of you have Google Workspace and all that. So you have your repository at the very bottom. This is your core. Okay. You have all your users here. You have all your employee accounts, contract accounts right here. And on top of that, for external trust, you have federation in case you are distributed setup. And then you have tools like SSO, MFA, which are based on risk scoring. And you also have API protection. Why do you need API protection? Obvious reasons. You don't want your machines to act as backdoors. Okay. So when you have this layered approach and when you place your focus on these areas, I think we are at a good start. Okay. I know I've been talking about theory throughout, but the assumption was that since this is our first ever ME presentation in Zoholics, we didn't want this to be all technical. We didn't want this to be all about products. We are testing the waters here. That's why you'll find a lot of theory. But if you, have you ever been to a Manage Engine conference before? Manage Engine conference is something similar to Zoholics, but for Manage Engine. No, okay. So if you are talking about Manage Engine's user conference, then it's all about showing you products, addressing pain points. So how an IAM policy should look like, where do you apply these policies, and what are the deployment modes, so on and so forth. So we go to level 2 and level 3, but we didn't know what to expect from the Zoholics attendees. So that's why we thought we'll stick to theory, and if the audience are interested, we will show them what we have. So that's why you'll see a lot of theory. I'm not a big fan of theory as well, so please bear with me. I'll try and do my best to strike the right balance. Okay. The first aspect of identity lifecycle governance. Let me ask you this very important question. When I asked you this question of how many of you have Active Directory, almost all of you raise your hands. Let me ask you this. How many of you have the practice of cleaning up your Active Directory once in every 6 months or once in every year? Okay, good. So the first thing that I would request you to do is, of course, we can help you with all that I'm saying, but if you already have another application in your organization, some of you might be using PowerShell for this, or you already have another application, please see whether the application can find out all the items that I'm about to discuss. Inactive users, inactive computers, inactive licenses, groups that have not been touched, GPUs that have not been utilized, computers with outdated or vulnerable versions. So if your scan can find all these and send it to you as a report or send it to you for approval, or if you have the ability to map a deprovisioning policy to the report and then act on it based on a context, that's what I call as an actual cleanup. Okay. Another request is, one mistake that I see some of the administrators do is they create a cleanup policy, but more often than not, they do not associate the cleanup policy with the business workflow. Why is it important? Because during the scan, the system might flag 50 accounts as inactive, but who knows, some of the users might have become active during the span of, probably a few hours or days or whatever. So it's very important that you map your cleanup process with a workflow so that you can review and then approve as administrators. So I want the application to do the heavy lifting here. I want the application to scan and let you know that there are inactive objects and this is your risk score and these are some of the things that you can do. Whereas you should have the privilege to either approve, reject, or modify and then approve any cleanup activity. Okay, and this is for provisioning and deprovisioning. So, all right. So this is for provisioning and deprovisioning here. And one thing that we do, and most of the administrators who use our tool like us for this, is we will be able to automate close to 52 actions related to identity and access management. Okay. Since most of your administrators, do you have anything in mind that you wish to automate from an identity and access management standpoint? Anything that you have in mind? Users onboarding or users offboarding, or integration between various tools when it comes to onboarding. So I'll just start with onboarding here. We will be able to automate the whole process, in fact, the whole life cycle of onboarding, access certification, and offboarding, not just in Active Directory or Azure. If you have another directory, another application in which you wish to create an account for a new hire, or when the user leaves the organization, if you want us to revoke access and then send the reports to you, we will be able to automate the whole process. Okay. So we can help you manage licenses, map licenses, assign and revoke them, do a whole lot of things, lock users, unlock users. If you have logged out users and you feel that the user's lockout is for a legit reason and it's not suspicious, you can also automate the whole process of unlocking user based on a certain logic. Okay, we will be able to do this and even more. And for onboarding and offboarding, this is how it works. I'm just going to give you an example here. All of you have some sort of HRMS application in your organization. Okay, so if you're using Zoho people, well, that's Zoho's offering. But if you have another HRMS application, we can very well talk to that application as well. This is how it works. So you have your HRMS application acting as the source. So that has the new hire information, the first name and the last name, title, department of the new joinee. All right. So if you can give us that source, okay, our IAM offering can very well handshake to that source, fetch the user information, look at the title, look at the department, apply an appropriate template, and then provision the user accordingly. Okay, so all the HRMS technician or the user needs to do is just fill a simple form with 4 or 5 fields. For example, first name, last name, title, department, and probably the manager if that's required. So based on a conditional attribute, say for example, if the location is Houston and the department is IT and the function is, let's say, server technician, you want the user to have certain set of licenses, groups, entitlements. We will be able to auto provision all of those, not just in Active Directory and Azure, but in also other applications as well. So this is how it works. New hire activates the IAM workflow, automatic access assignment takes place, and we do two-way sync. Now, what do I mean by two-way sync is if I update something in HRMS, that will take effect in my IAM tool as well. If I disable a user in IAM, that will be synced, reverse synced to my HRMS application. Okay, so we support two-way sync. So you can perform modifications either in your HRMS or directly by logging into our IAM offering. Okay. All of you have an IT service management tool for incident management, raising tickets, and all that. Okay. So what we do here is we also handshake with IT service management tools. Okay. Now your users could be raising requests for multiple reasons. Okay. They could be raising access requests for a new application or a resource. They could be raising request for a broken authentication. Okay. They're trying to MFA and the MFA doesn't work. They immediately raise a request. Right? Or you have a new AI tool and few of your colleagues want access to the new AI tool. They raise a request for that. Right? Now, your IT service management, okay, again, this is a request. If you have an IT service management tool in your office, please see to that your IT service management tool talks back to your IAM tool because it has to be identity aware. That's my request. Okay. The same philosophy that I mentioned for your HRMS and IAM integration applies here. We can very well integrate with your ticketing tool as well so that we get user information, perform the actions that you want, and then send the closure back as closed ticket to your ticketing tool. So you open a ticket here, we do all the heavy lifting. After it's done, we send the response and we close the ticket. Okay, so less man hours, less productivity, and less process in place, and then you have a transparent and clean system when you integrate your ITSM with your IAM, right? So this is one integration. You know this, okay? Yeah. So far, I mean, this is one of my favorite quotes from Mr. Tyson, okay? And I like this for a reason because so far we've discussed about identity and access management. I know it's been all theory, but we can do stuffs. So if you'd like to have a fully blown demo, I'd be more than happy to demo some of the functionalities. But that was all about prevention, okay? So if you are talking about prevention, identity and access management is the topic, okay? Well, it's always better to not get punched in the mouth. Try our best not to get punched in the mouth. Okay. But what if you are punched in the mouth? What about detection and recovery? Okay. So if prevention is one side of the coin, which is IAM, the other side of the coin, which is detection and response, is your SIEM. So when you have IAM and SIEM together, that's when we are talking about a holistic identity security strategy. Am I making sense to you so far? Okay. So we do both. We help you with prevention so that we don't get punched in the mouth. We also help you with detection and recovery using SIEM. Now, what do we actually do here? These are some of the things that we do for prevention, and we do even more. And for SIEM, we decode identity signals, we understand anomaly, and we also do a bit of threat hunting. So if you're just looking at events, the events tell you just part of the story. Okay, let me give you an example here. If a user logs in at 3 o'clock during a Sunday, during a Saturday, Saturday at 3 o'clock in the morning, probably from China or North Korea, or let's say from another part of the world, and the user's identity has not logged into your corporate network ever from a different geography, that's going to be a suspicious login. If you're just looking at the event, you'll not understand the severity. Okay. Or to better explain this, I will give you my laptop. Okay. I will give you my username and password, and I'll ask you to work with my laptop for 30 minutes straight. Okay. Now, please tell me this. After 30 minutes, your behavior in my laptop is going to be very much different from my behavior in the same laptop. Yes or no? Yes. So even though it's the same username and password, it's the same laptop. We are two different users interacting with the laptop, which means two different behavioral patterns. So the point that I'm trying to drive here is understanding events is important, but decoding behavior is the next step. Okay. So if you have an SIEM solution deployed in your organization, please see to that it's capable of decoding behaviors, not just looking at events. Okay. We do that. I'm just going to give you a 2-minute overview of what we do in the SIEM space. Log360, of course, it's a cloud offering. So Log360 is our cloud offering when you talk about SIEM. So what we do with that is talk about any logs that is in human readable format. It could be from your applications, databases, from your, let's say, your network, your firewall logs. You give it to us, we'll process it, and we will give it to you in the form that makes sense to you. Okay, we'll do all the risk scoring for you. We'll help you understand whether it's the user's fault or whether it's the machine's fault. Okay, now let's talk about a user, Bob. Okay, Bob is a legit user. Okay, but poor Bob clicked on something yesterday that actually created a small malware piece in his or her personal laptop. And he has now brought that laptop to the office network and he plugs it in. Okay. So tell me, should I increase the risk score of Bob or should I increase the risk score for Bob's laptop? Which one do you think is Bob's laptop, right? Bob just clicked on something. Okay. It's not Bob trying to, RDP to a server, trying to copy sensitive information. No, he just clicked on something which then actually created some sort of process in the machine, and the machine is now acting as a command and control center. So which means you'll have to understand two different profiles, two different behaviors of the user and the machine, understand where the risk is. So we do that as well. Okay. We help you in retaining logs, and we also help you with archival. I understand that there are certain regulations that want you to store logs for months, certain regulations for years, certain regulations, they want it forever. They don't define forever. Some of them define. Okay. So we will be able to retain logs. And if you're asking me where are these logs stored, we store it in our own data centers. Okay. Now that you are already familiar with Zoho's ecosystem, so we apply the same concept here. Okay. And if you are trying to generate compliance report, we have templates ready for most of the compliance out there. All you have to do is just go to the right compliance template and generate the report and submit it to your auditors from an SIM standpoint. Again, FIM or file integrity monitoring. Someone tries to copy a file, delete a file, or let's say kind of exfiltration of data. We will be able to track all of that in real time with or without agents, depending on your deployment needs. Last point, so far we've been reactive. If you want us to be proactive, we can be proactive to a certain extent. Okay. So if you configure your domain with Log360 Cloud, we will be able to tell you whether we have some sort of exposed credentials, personal data, or confidential business information out there in the dark web. Okay, we do a bit of dark web auditing as well, right? Cloud apps. So all of you might have heard of this term called shadow IT. Yes. So you have sanctioned apps on one end. Let's say you have 150 or 200 apps on one end. On the other hand, you have unsanctioned apps. All right. So that's what we call a shadow IT. So we will be able to understand using CASP whether there are any apps that are unsanctioned, or if there are unsanctioned apps, what are they doing? Okay. And what is the engine? What is the engine behind all this? Okay. So we have more than 100 plus rules that look for various combinations, and they flag anomalies, and we try and do our best to enrich these rules. You can also create your custom rules to suit your business requirement as well. So we are flexible. It's not static. You can feed in your roles as well. Okay. And the last part, after you record an incident, let's say there is a security incident, the next step is you would like to investigate what happened. Okay. We also give you something called as IWB, which is Incident Workbench. When you have an incident, you will be able to mature that incident, get to the exact root cause, and then try to pin it down there. Okay. Say, for example, if it's a process from one of my Windows laptops that is actually causing the problem, I'll be able to understand the exact root cause of the problem just by investigating an incident here. Okay, and what do? The first one was detection. After detection, I investigate, which is the second phase. And after investigation, what should I do now? I should mitigate. Okay. I cannot wait for manual intervention. There has to be playbooks in place. Okay. So it goes like this. Let me quickly do this. So your SIEM flags unusual identity behavior. It could be anything. Okay. We have pre-built rules. We have threat intelligence. We take care of that. As soon as your SIEM flags, our IAM immediately performs or executes the playbook you want. Okay. For example, it locks out the user account that is acting suspicious. Or it can also trigger an MFA mechanism just to challenge the user even more. Okay. So we will be able to execute any playbooks that you want as a part of the remediation phase. And the next thing is everything has to be documented. So there has to be an ITSM document in place so that it reaches your SOC team for incident enrichment. All right. Now, all this gives you a closed loop. So your SIEM tool, your IAM tool, and your ITSM tool, they don't operate in silos anymore. They talk to each other. So you get complete visibility for one security incident. And that's pretty much it from me. So the whole idea is let's start treating identity as a critical infrastructure, because you cannot use location as a trust factor anymore. And then there has to be comprehensive lifecycle governance. We give you close to 50 plus actions that you can automate from an IAM standpoint, right from user, computer, group, and policy management. And then if you have an ITSM tool, an IAM tool, and an SIM tool, I want all these tools to be identity aware. What do I mean by that is any change that I do in IAM should reflect or should be in sync with all the other platforms or applications that I have. That's when you get complete visibility, right? Breaking silos was my agenda of IAM, ITSM, and SIEM, and we'll have to build from the core outward. You always start from the user, start from the device, think about the applications, and then the network. That is the approach that we are taking here. And last is we have to empower securely, govern transparently, and respond intelligently. That's the ask. And if you're wondering, give me the name of the products right here. For prevention, not getting punched in the mouth, 8360 and PAM 360, okay? And for detection and response is Log 360. So we have these offerings, as I mentioned earlier, as on-prem offerings or cloud offerings. You can deploy them however you want, okay? Thank you very much for your time and patience.